Conquer your mind and your body will win. We got work to do.
This is A Fit Mess with Zach and Jeremy.
Man, do I have a prediction for you.
What's that?
Best show so far. Best show so far coming up. We aren't even done yet, and it's already the best show we've done so far.
Absolutely.
Our guest this week, the one and only Shaun T. If you don't know that name, I don't even think we can be friends anymore. But if you don't, you might remember him from his insanity workouts. You've been doing them for years. There's
Insanity,
T25,
the Asylum. There's T25. There's Insanity Max 30, and his new one, Transform 20, which is, I believe, it's available for general release in April.
April, yeah. You can get it now if you are already a Beachbody member.
If you're a Beachbody On Demand member, and I think there's a fee. I think it's $50 to get a VIP early access to it.
And for me, being new to the Shaun T world, I did a couple of his workouts. My wife Cheryl, years ago, I think around the time that they came out, she was really into it and she was doing it a bunch. I did it a couple of times. I regretted it because it just beat my ass. I was not ready for it and I pushed myself too hard. But I mean, solid workout, obviously. But this one, it's unique. It's very different in his approach.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty different. I think I started doing Insanity years ago, and I think we talked about it a couple of shows ago, how it was one of my epiphany moments where I just started doing I had never heard of Shaun T, and I was like, oh, this Insanity workout's supposed to be, badass. I can do this. And it literally beat me to a pulp in the beginning. I couldn't sit for like 3 days. It was crazy. But, that started me down a journey of, weight loss and health and fitness. And ultimately, I really look up to Shaun T just because the way he motivates you in these workouts is, it stuck with me after the workout. It came into my life and, doing a project at work or something like that. It was, I could hear him in my head telling me to dig deeper. And it really changed me for the better, to use his new workout name. It really transformed me mentally, not just physically. I mean, like, getting a six-pack or, the beach body for the summer, that was all fine and well, and I felt good, and I lost a bunch of weight, but I was happier, and mentally I felt really good, and that's when I became a lifelong fan of this guy. I mean, he's changed my life in ways that, there's no way I can put into words.
Well, and Zach, so much of what we do on this show is trying to be open, trying to be vulnerable, trying to share the struggles that hold us back from trying to accomplish the goals that we set out for ourselves. And that's the thing that with this new program, the Transform 20 program, that I'm really excited about, is that you get a lot of that from not only the workouts, but they have like a companion reality series that goes along with it where you get to learn what's driving the cast members. Like normally you watch a workout video and you see a bunch of fitness models that are doing the routine and showing you how to do it or whatever.
Always really intimidated by the really in shape, fit people who manage to bang out these workouts.
Right. And in this case, many of them are in great shape. Many of them are still figuring it out. But for the most part, they go behind the physical part and they get to the emotion of what got them there. What are their challenges? What are the struggles that they have? Whether it's losing family members or just age or whatever it is, they've all got something holding them back on the inside. And through this workout and the way that he lays it out, and we'll get into the details of it with him in just a minute, but he's helping you to not only get physically fit, but he's helping you to get mentally fit, to get over a lot of those barriers that are keeping you from reaching those goals. It's just, I've done a handful of these kinds of workouts. Normally I'm in my living room and it's like, I just got to slog through this because that's what I got to do.
Yeah.
This is the first time that I've ever been like, I want to see what the next page is. I want to get back in there and do it again because it's short enough. It's a 20-minute workout. It pushes you just enough for just the right amount of time that you can, get back to work or whatever you need to do. But it gets you thinking about so many other things that are holding you back, and it helps you find paths, I guess, to overcome them. It's amazing how powerful this program is.
Yeah, it's definitely different than some of his other workouts. I mean, his other workouts are awesome too, but I generally work out and I'm not going to say anything during the workout. And this particular one, he was talking about being positive and not being negative. And And I remember, I think it was mid burpees, so I was struggling a little bit, but I just remember like yelling out, F negativity based on whatever he was saying.
I hope you actually said fuck negativity and not
I did.
F. Okay, good.
I did. I was trying to be nice for the show, but it was definitely, the message in this workout program is so different than his other workout programs. You're still going to get a good workout.
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to sweat. You're still going to be sore the next day, but it really, it hits where we're trying to go with this show, in that, you need to be vulnerable. You need to understand that things are a struggle. It's not easy. And it's more of a mind game than it is physical. And it was really powerful for me.
Yeah, it is for me. And we should mention, I mean, we are blowing a lot of smoke on this, but it's because we're genuinely excited about this program. We're not getting paid. Like, you can buy it, you can not, whatever. We're just really into it. And I just want to make clear that this is not a paid interview. This is not a paid anything. This is just, we believe in it. And if you're looking for a place to start, just doing something different, it's a great one to try out. So with that in mind, we are extremely excited to have the opportunity to talk to Shaun T himself. I think you will find this to be a very open and very vulnerable conversation. For myself, I didn't think it was going to happen, but I started tearing up at the end, which is weird. Like, I can cry at the drop of a hat. I don't think I've cried in an interview yet. So for me to get a little weepy at the end, I caught myself by surprise. So we'll get into all of that with Shaun T. And we started, Zach just asked him about the new program and what it's all about.
Tell me a little bit about Transform 20 and why is it different than some of your other workouts?
So Transform 20, I developed the workout really based on mental motivation rather than just the physical motivation, because the physical motivation is out there. I mean, you can turn on any social media platform and infomercial on television and everyone's talking about here's how to get great abs, or here's how to lose 50 pounds. And people talk about how to do it quickly. And so for me, I just wanted to find and create a way where people could get results and sustain results and eliminate some of the excuses that people have for not committing all the way. And so first and foremost, it was, well, what kind of workout can people do that's going to keep them coming back? And the first thing I thought about was time. And some people ask, oh my goodness, is 20 minutes enough? And the first thing I say is, well, if you do the work, it's enough. And secondly, I say is, well, when things are 30 to 45 minutes, you don't do them the next day because you complain about the time. And so one of my major motivating factors to get people to continue to move is I tell them, leave yourself wanting more. So when people are like, oh, I worked out for 20 minutes, I know I can do longer, at least they come back knowing that it is, each day they get a tangible result from finishing and they know that it's doable. And then the other thing is there's 3 chapters. I created it so that you go through 3 chapters. The first chapter is commit. The second chapter is climb. The third chapter is conquer. And I created these chapters so people had a connection to what it is that they're doing. A lot of times in fitness programs, it's, hey, the length of the program is, 73 days. And so it becomes this daunting thing of, I got to get through 73 days instead of, okay, these first 2 weeks, I'm solely focused on learning how to commit to what it is that I want to achieve and commit to my goals. And then the second phase and chapter is about, okay, this is where you have to actually utilize that inner strength. That's what climbing is about. Anytime you work against gravity, things get tough. And so in exercise and in commitment, you have to learn what it's like to be mentally tough. So that's what the climb phase is about. And then the conquer phase, I developed it so that I put people in a place where they were already having to exercise tools to sustain their results. Because I think a lot of times when people finish, they think, okay, I'm done, and they can go back to eating whatever they want. Or I actually get a lot of people to when I'm eating healthy, they say, why are you eating that? You can eat whatever you want. I'm like, no, I can't eat whatever I want, because if I ate whatever I want, then I wouldn't look like this. It's about sustainability. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's purely what makes it different. It's the messaging. I don't, there's so many lunges and squats and push-ups you can do. And while I was as creative as I could be without obviously creating a workout where I'm in the room with them and people are doing it from home, at the end of the day, there's a step. It's a new way to utilize a step, and you have all the mental and physical motivation combined.
So I have a couple questions about that. And for me, integrating an actual workout routine is relatively new. I've been really good the last couple of years biking to work. It's like a 10-mile ride, so that's been really good. But actually getting into the gym every day has been new to me, and I've basically been kind of experimenting with different apps and different yoga apps and things like that. And I work out at work, and we have a gym here. And when I heard that your new program is 20 minutes, it's like, this is perfect. That's my sweet spot. Like anything more than that, I'm spending too much time away from the office, whatever. So that got me in the door. But when I saw what you're doing with this program in terms of showing the human side of the cast and everybody really opening up and being vulnerable and showing that, a lot of how we got to the points where we're at, if we're feeling bad about our physical fitness, started on the inside. And the way that you're able to get these people to share, I guess, what their struggles is really powerful. And it really helps you connect with you and the cast in a way that I've never seen in another video. Was that kind of intentional, I guess?
It was 100% intentional because most people only associate fitness, again, with weight loss. They don't associate it with what's happening outside of the time that you're actually working out. And the other thing, and I'll really get to your answer, or the answer to your question. The other thing is, most of the time when we scroll through social media or we see fitness things, like the person is already fit, and then you make fit, or people are showing abs, or they're showing, a photo, a snapshot in time of results they've already gotten. And no one knows how hard they have to work to actually get those results. And in addition, that's probably a 30-minute workout most of the time, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. But what's happening outside of their lives? Most people started working out because they had to lose weight. But how did they gain the weight? What were the barriers that they had in the way to get there? And some people were just going through different life struggles and life experiences, and they may have been people who worked out, but they weren't able to really commit to give themselves time. And I think the story behind why people are working out is so much more motivating than just the results that they can get or the results you see, because you see the battle that they have to enter, the battle they have to enter to even begin to work out every day, and the barriers that are in the way from them even pressing play. And I know that that's a major motivational factor for people out there who are making excuses right now at this very moment. And so I wanted to show the human side of people, to say, hey, that girl, that guy may not have 50 pounds to lose, but she's dealing with the loss of a loved one, and someone just didn't believe in themselves, or someone actually had something happen to them in the past that they're dealing with now, and they just need to find belief. And I think it's a way to connect people, to say, okay, giving myself time in 20 minutes to work out every single day is more than just a physical thing. It's also a mental thing, and you give time to give back to yourself every day.
That's so great. I mean, that's really the reason. I mean, Zach and I have only been doing this podcast for 5 or 6 months. And that was the thing that got us into this studio and doing this, is the conversations we were having with each other about, all these things we're trying to do to get better, to get healthier, to get, mentally also just trying to get things on track. You never hear that. You never hear the struggles that people go through. And so that's where we just thought, these conversations we're having would be a valuable tool to put out in the world. And then to have this video come along at this time for us, it's just like this. It's just amazing how these things are all lining up, and how powerful something like this can be.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I will say a lot of times, and this is just me being very candid, like I always am, a lot of those conversations don't happen with males a lot.
Exactly.
I think,
yeah.
to go into that, kind of more emotional side and open up about different types of struggles, it just doesn't happen. And I know that I'm just happy that you kind of a bridge to that. I mean, obviously, a lot of home fitness workouts are done by women, but I still believe that men should see other men being vulnerable and sharing their truths, and to understand that you don't have to hide what's stopping you from being as healthy as you can possibly be. And I just commend you guys on stepping forward to actually make it a part of a daily or weekly conversation, because it really opens people's minds up to say, you know what, the more transparent I am, the more I can progress and move forward. And so, yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just to build on that, I think during week 1 of Transform 20, at the end of one of the workouts, you were looking at the transformations in the background, and you said it's never an after photo; it's a continuation of who you are. One of the things that we try to focus on the show is, the small changes that you continually do to make yourself better in small ways. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and tell us what you meant by that?
Yeah, so the most elementary way I can put it for people to understand is, an after photo is a snapshot in time. It just is. It's, you take the photo and you're there and you're like, wow, I'm really happy. But happiness, it needs to be a continuous process. And so you have to take the tools that got you to that after photo and utilize them, or you're doing a disservice to yourself. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into 1 pound weight loss, or 1 inch uh 1 inch off of your body. And I was actually interviewing someone yesterday, and we were talking about how she was able to take the fact that she was in my workouts and build a career of her own just by not giving up and not yo-yoing. And I think that the problem is with fitness, we say, okay, you're done. Now you have to look for the next thing. And it's really never over. It's taking what you learn in this process and finding a way to really make it propel you into the next process. And I talk about in my book, I talk about the last 70 meters of a 400-meter dash. It is where you win or lose the race. Is, are you going to continue to drive forward and push, or are you going to let the pain of the previous part of the race take over? And the way you win the race and the way you continue the momentum, step one is just to relax. You don't have to put the pressure on yourself, because you've already proven that you can do it. And the second part is run through the finish line. A lot of times we see a finish line and it's a brick wall instead of a springboard to propel us into the next level of who we are. And just to go a little bit deeper, it's not about the fitness, it's not about the weight, it's about the baggage you carry in your life, which is what we kind of talked about a little bit ago. Weight is baggage. It's either, a lot of times it's a medical condition for some people. For some people, it's something that happened to them in their childhood that they, for me, I was molested as a child, so I wanted to hide from the world. And so, as I went through my life, I was, stacking on layers upon layers upon layers around me, when I realized it was making me heavy physically and mentally. And, for other people, it could be a relationship that they're in, or it could be it could be anything. It could be that they used to be an addict, right? And they haven't dealt with it. And so the way to continue to process is to take the things that you have proven to yourself that have worked for you, that you've done for yourself, and utilize them by relaxing, understanding that you've done the work, and then propelling yourself through the finish line so that you could pass the baton to the next person the next level of you that's going to take this and continue to journey forward.
There's so many places I want to go with that, but I want to touch on the layers and layers and layers that you used to have that we see in Transform 20. You show your before picture, I believe you said for the first time, and it is shocking, dude, to see where you started and to see you now as one of the top fitness trainers in the world. Like how does that happen? How do you go from that guy to go, you know what, this ain't it? What were some of those first steps, and how did you get through that?
Well, I mean, the final answer is consistency over time. It, will help you trust yourself and trust the process. I did it by really, if I had to pinpoint one way, because obviously, there was a lot of struggle and ups and downs. And, you know, I remember in college, I took Xenadrin. I was like, oh, this is going to help me lose the weight. And I realized that Xenadrin was short lived. And so at the end of the day, the way I did it was I just kept following what I was passionate about. And the first thing that I was passionate about in terms of moving was that I knew in my life was sports. So it was track and field. And so after I gained the weight, I was like, okay, Shaun, run. You know how to run. You love running. And then I found the passion of dance. And so when I started dancing, man, the weight just, because I danced so hard because I asked my mom when I was 8 years old if I could be a ballerina. And she was like, you know, little boys don't dance.
That's awesome.
But when I was able to dance, when I got, in college, it was like 20 years of bottled up, wanting to move. And so then I realized, like, wow, this is great. This is a passion of mine. And then I became even more passionate about fitness, and I just kept following my passions. And it was passionate about food and what I wanted to eat. And then I became passionate about feeling good. And so, just continuing to follow the passion of what it is that I wanted to do. It for people out there, you don't have to do my workouts. You don't have to do what the next person says is the next big thing. You don't have to cycle. You don't have to go to CrossFit. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do insanity. What you have to do is what it is that's going to help you continue. Is it rock climbing? Is it playing tennis? Is it whatever it is, whatever kind of activity that it is that you want to do and you're passionate about? Sometimes it's walking. I'll tell you a quick funny story. You guys might not think it's funny, but it was so funny to me. So a lot of people make fun of people who walk. And I think walking is a great way to lose weight or to stay active. So one day I was driving home through my neighborhood and this woman was walking. And it's the second time I saw her. The first time I was like, oh, she's walking like she has some energies. But the second time I saw her walking, I realized that she had her hair done. She had her makeup on. She had an outfit on. And when I tell you she was walking down the sidewalk like she was on the runway at a Victoria's Secret fashion show, I was like, come all the way through. I was like, this, what I mean? Like, it could be something as simple as that. But I can tell you one thing, she was walking with confidence, and she had to walk at least 2 miles because homegirl was at the end of the street. And I know to get back to the first house had to be a ways away and go up a hill, so the thing is, it's not doing what other people are doing. It's doing what you want to do, no matter how hard you want to make it, how deep you want to dig, or if you're like, I need something leisure just for me to find consistency. It's just to find your passion to move and to stay fit and healthy.
That's awesome. So years ago when I started doing Insanity, I remember doing the workout and feeling like, this is a really hard workout, and it made me stronger. It made me healthier. But I was amazed, later on when I kind of heard your voice in my head when I was at work, struggling with a work project or something like that to dig deeper. And it, the workouts took me out of my comfort zone and really taught me life lessons, and the getting healthy was a side benefit. And I wanted to ask you, because when the original Insanity came out, you didn't have the 2 tattoos on your forearm, Conquer Your Mind and Transform Your Life. So I wanted to ask you about those tattoos specifically and what those words mean to you and why you decided to get those.
It's a really great question. And I will say that I love that I'm in your head, even in the office. It's so good. Because that was the thing. That was the thing I was trying to do, which, when I get to answer about my tattoos, it was something that validated what I was doing. But for me, it was like, okay, I know how to do this. I have to show people what it is that I'm feeling at this moment, and I have to verbalize it so you don't feel alone. And Insanity was the first workout that it was like, okay, we're not going to do reps and smile. It's like, yo, if you're tired, stop, go take a break and get back into it. But you're still going to hear me pushing you through. And so that took me to the next level. So after Insanity, and I realized I had this internal drive, motivation, but more importantly, I had this internal passion, fire, and this internal message that I didn't even know where it was coming from, is when I really, you know, seeked out therapy, and I went and I started going to therapy a lot. And I had a couple different therapists. And I realized that my entire life and my entire journey was about me conquering my mind and staying strong and never giving up and not, being a victim to things that happened to me, and just being really, really powerful. And when you're really, really powerful in your mind, transformation is seriously so constant. And then I realized that when you're conquering your mind, you're constantly being uncomfortable, which is why, being uncomfortable is the first superpower in my book. The more uncomfortable you are, and it doesn't have to be so negative, but just the more uncomfortable you are, the more you push yourself, the more you're learning new things, maybe about something else, but most of the time it's about you. And so for me, it was like, yo, if you conquer your mind, you would transform your life. Do not let, because when you're walking around or when you're working out, you can either stop or you can say, I'm gonna just give this one more second. I'm just like, one more second, or I don't feel like working out today, so I'm not gonna do anything. Your mind has to be the driving force to be like, okay, well, if you don't feel like doing insanity, at least go do, a circuit of 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 jumping jacks, and do that 5 rounds. And then your mind actually was creative enough, which is another superpower I talk about in my book. Your mind is creative enough to say, okay, well, I'm going to do something. And then the more you continue to push yourself and the more you continue to talk to yourself and you're honest with yourself, the more you will transform. And so, conquer your mind, transform your life.
It's funny you mentioned therapy and playing into this theme. For me, I distinctly remember a conversation I was having with my therapist, 50 pounds ago, saying how I wanted to lose a bunch of weight, and once I lost the weight, I would feel better and I'd be able to deal with that other stuff. And he was the first person to say, "No, man, you got it backwards. Like you're heavy because you're not dealing with your stuff. Like you gotta figure out how to fix that first, and you'll be surprised how everything else will fall into place." And it was amazing. It was, the switch flipped, and the minute I dug deep on that stuff, all of a sudden those doors started opening. All of a sudden it was, this change in my diet opened up the idea of working out more, opened up the idea of just paying more attention to how I felt. And it's always like this weird stepping stone. And I think it's so hard for people to find that first open door. And it seems like the more people like you that we talk to and the more that we read, so much of it comes from just taking a step, whether it's taking a walk, just doing something different than you're already doing until it clicks. Does that make sense? Is that fair advice, is to just start doing something different?
Yeah, that's fair advice. And I want to kind of touch on, what you were talking about earlier and what you found out through therapy. It's like, oh, I lost the weight. Now I can work on this stuff. And, during Transform 20, one of the cast members, we were shooting the reality show. She had, I had some M&Ms or something like that. And she was like, no, I'll eat these after I lose the weight. And I was like, she's like, because if I eat them now, like, I just don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to be able to stop. And I was like, you need to eat these M&Ms during the process, not after you finish, because while you're actually pushing yourself and you're going through this work, that's when you want to deal with the M&Ms and realize that it's not the M&Ms that have power over you. You need to learn how to have power over what it is that's driving you to continue to eat the M&Ms. Mm-hmm. And if you do that after the process, you're going to relapse because you don't know, you're not working on it. It just becomes this thing. And then you're going to feel like you failed. And so I do like that you really should work on yourself, even while you're going through your journey. You should work on the hard stuff because you're already doing hard stuff and you're already changing every day. It's the best time to be committed to that. But just in terms of, just, for me, I say better every day. Just do one thing better every day. It's really simple and easy to say, but it doesn't have to be, it's easy to say, but I also want to say it doesn't have to be some big giant leap. It's not, you can't run a marathon in one day and expect to not be in a hospital the next day. You
Right.
have to do 1 mile at a time, or some people might start off at quarter mile at a time. And I want people to look at their transformation and their journey just like building endurance for anything. Um, and being a new dad of 16-month-old twins, it really it was like the craziest science project watching them learn how to walk. And it was first they needed to learn how to hold their head, then they needed to learn how to stay sitting up, and then they had to learn how to sit up on their own, and then it was like to stand up and then take that first step. A baby isn't born and just a human baby isn't born and just stands right up and starts walking. And so why as adults do we think that we can take giant leaps and be perfect or extremely extremely successful at something right away without doing the work that it takes to get there? And I want to remind people, you're always a baby, and not in a derogatory way like calling someone a baby. You're always a baby. Remember, it took you a process to learn how to walk. It's going to take you a process to lose the weight. It's going to take you a process to get that next job. It's going to take you a process to get over that bad relationship that you got out of. It's going to be a process to learn what it's like to feel lonely and be okay with loving yourself. Everything is a process, and it's okay. And we all go through it. So, and just for me, because I don't like to tell people I have it all together, but I'm very aware of my journeys now. Even as a dad, it's hard. I woke up this morning and I said to my husband, Scott, I was like, don't you just wish that the boys could be like 14 years old and they can wake up, they can eat their own breakfast, they can, they can just take a shower, they can put on their own shoes, and then, and then in that same breath, it's like, but it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the same joy if we didn't go through this. So we have to attack this head on. And so, like, even I struggle with that stuff, but I just have to remember that it's a step-by-step process, and taking one step is just like the first time the baby can hold his head up or her head up on their own.
That's awesome.
You talked about your boys, and I was fortunate enough to go to your live event in Seattle last year. And, I try to be a role model for my 7-year-old daughter, and you're in our house all the time, right? I'm working out constantly, and she knows who you are. You're a household name in our house, and my daughter really wanted to come and see you, so I brought her, and she got to meet you.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that I'm talking to you until just now.
Oh, really?
It's so crazy. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
You do remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember this. Like, it's so crazy. I have it's not like a super vivid, but you could ask my team. I have like the craziest visual memories.
That's awesome. I try to be a role model for my daughter. And like I said, she wanted to meet you. She actually knows that you're a real person now. She didn't believe me before that.
Yes.
But your boys were there. I saw your kids. And I wanted to ask, with your life, with everything that's going on, how has having kids changed your life, and how have you had to adjust to that lifestyle?
Wow. I'm trying to think of a quick way to answer this.
Yeah, that's a pretty big question.
So, no, I mean, this is going to sound probably so different than the answer that you would probably normally get from anybody else, but I realize how much time I need alone. And that's how, like, the time that I have to myself is so valuable, and I'm so deliberate in what I'm thinking about when I am alone, because when I'm not alone and I'm with my family, the combination of while your kids are there and then your spouse is there, and you're giving a lot of energy and you're connecting and you're getting energy as well. But being alone, I try to wake up an hour before my house wakes up, not to work out, because I actually get to do that during the day, but just to literally be with my own thoughts. And I realize that is sleep is not my rejuvenation for the day. It's actually having that 1 hour of my time. It's waking up, it's getting my coffee, sitting in silence for a little bit in the dark, and then I might turn on the TV for the news of the day, but I'm really not listening to that. I'm just like literally sitting in my own space. And so it just made me very deliberate in what I'm doing and how I replenish my energy, because I just feel as a parent, you we don't give ourselves enough time and we don't give ourselves enough credit to make mistakes and have the struggle. And I believe that that can be healed and, just worked on when you're alone. And then the flip side of that is I'm naturally super high energy, when I'm moving and when I'm with my kids anyway. So it just helps me provide more energy and fun and being present when I'm with them. Um, the other thing is, and I won't be too long here. The other thing is I just realized how much of a teacher I really am. Like, I think I was really successful in group exercise and dance. When I used to teach group exercise in gyms, I would be able to take people who couldn't move at all or who said they don't have rhythm to get them to kill some choreography to like Missy Elliott. And they would be like, what? And I would just, the step-by-step process of learning. And I do that with my boys. And it's super fun for me to really, get down to like the step-by-step process of helping them thrive and grow and working with what they're already good at. Like one of them, just talks, a lot and likes to interact that way. And the other one is just so much more sensitive. So you have to figure out how to get them to enjoy the day by, visual stuff and light and, fun and constantly changing his mind. And so, yeah, it just helped hone in the fact that I need to be a good teacher.
Mentioning alone time it's crazy. Literally, while we were waiting to connect with you for this conversation, I was telling Zach about a huge failure as a dad that I had over the weekend. And it basically we were in the car and I messed up on directions, and it just was like a weekend. It's just an overpacked weekend. I never took time for myself, and it boiled over in the car when I got frustrated and sort of like tossed my phone toward the dashboard of the car, and it bounced up and it shattered the windshield. And my kids were scared. My wife was scared. And like I'm not an angry dude. I don't have outbursts, and I certainly like if I threw my phone at my windshield to try to break it, I couldn't do it. It just was like a fluke thing. But it's total. I look back on it and I go, it's because I never took time for myself. And it is a daily struggle for me to go, I need to be there for my kids first and foremost. And at the same time, there's this struggle of, but you need time for yourself to be there for them in the right way, not to just be there and to be burned out and tired and worn out. And man, that is advice that I try to give myself every day. And I hope every dad listening to this, every mom listening to this, you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to be the parent you want to be for your kids. It's the same thing as the airplane, man. They tell you to put the mask on yourself first so you can help others. Without doing that, you're not helping anybody. And so that really resonates with me, hearing you say how powerful that is for you, because that's something that is a struggle for me that I have to work on constantly.
It's so true. And I'm not afraid to say it, but people are like, what, like, I hear people say, oh, my kids are the most important. My kids are the most important. I'm like, actually, I'm the most important, because without my ability to be there for them and be, present and be able to give them the love that they need, they're going to be, I'm not going to curse in your podcast, but
please do. Please do. You're welcome to curse all your life.
We already as parents, we're not going to get everything right?
Yeah.
But the one thing that I know that we can get right is we can literally, if we just make ourselves a priority, you are the nucleus of, you are the sun of the solar system in your life. And so your kids are going to feed off of your energy. And if you have bad energy because you don't have time to yourself and you couldn't give back to yourself and you're just frustrated because you didn't have the outlet, it's just, you're going to feel guilty like you did after you tossed the phone. And I just want to say to you, it's totally okay to toss a phone, and it's okay that your windshield broke. And I'm sure you probably spoke to your kids on the side and said,
oh, yeah,
hey, this is what happened.
Yeah.
But I also think that depending on the age of your kids, it doesn't even matter. You can even say to them, hey, this is why I got upset. I didn't give myself time.
Yep.
And Scott and I, we literally, Scott will send me away on the weekend for just like 2 nights in Vegas. He'll be like, yo, just go. I don't gamble. I just go in a hotel and I sit there and I work out and I go eat and I just have time to myself, and I might have a good old fashioned or whatever. But, it's important for you and your spouse as well to communicate on, okay, we need date nights, but we also need, self date nights. And how do you maneuver that with having children? And, Scott and I just released something called Relationship Thrivation. And it's just a way to continue to connect with your spouse as you move on in the journey of parenthood, or if you move on a journey with, 2 different careers, because I believe that, and this is obviously I'm talking about finding time to yourself, but I also want to say that in terms of relationships, most of the time relationships start out like a triangle, like at the point, at the tip of a triangle, like things are together, and then life gets in the way. And then all of a sudden, you and your spouse, start drifting apart, when really a relationship should be like an upside down triangle. Like you meet, you don't know much about each other, but you should come together. And so that's going to help your kids. That's going to help you as a dad. That's going to help your fitness. That's going to help you constantly getting uncomfortable, because your spouse is going to be there to support your journey. And then you don't feel like you go in 2 different ways. But just in terms of having alone time, if your spouse is there to say, okay, like Scott knows when I need alone time, and I know when he needs alone time. As a dad, as a new dad, back a year ago, when I was traveling a lot for work, while I was traveling and I was working and I was, giving my energy, I was also sleeping in hotels and not having to worry about running to change diapers every 3 hours. So when I would get home, I would say to Scott, go next door to your parents' house, because his parents live next door to us. I was like, go and sleep over there. No baby monitors, because I'm rested. It's just working together to be able to, find a path to success. And you do that with fitness, you do that with food, you do that with relationships, and most importantly, you do that with your own personal life, so that you can continue to conquer your mind and transform your life.
Shaun, I could talk to you all day, but I do want to respect your time here. I just have one more question for you. That you're an amazing motivator. Like I said, you're in my head when I'm not working out. But I want to know, who motivates you and who keeps you going? Who do you turn to when you're struggling?
So there's multiple people. The first person will probably make you tilt your head. You guys seem very open-minded, so I think you'll go with me. But the first person I ever go to is the 8-year-old boy that was molested, because I'm like, he's the strongest person I know. And I'm like, yo, if you could get through that, meaning myself, when I was 8 years old and going through that, I'll go back to that 8-year-old boy. And I'm like, okay, I know if you can get through this, like you took the first step. It's just like the person that's 350 pounds, they think that the person who lost 150 pounds is the strongest person. And I'm like, no, the first person that took that first step is the strongest person you know. So I always go back to the first leg of the relay race, and that was when I first encountered struggle as a kid. Secondly, my husband Scott is the second person I go to. I know I can go to him and I can laugh. I can put on some random stupid dance show for him and he'll watch, or I can go to him and cry. And it's important to have an outlet for you to be transparent with someone externally to you. And then in terms of, motivation from like an inspirational person, Serena Williams is just, I can literally just turn on a YouTube video of her playing tennis, and just, after meeting her and knowing her a little bit, knowing that the struggle that it takes for her to go out there and win, and the power that she exudes, like I get that. And then last but not least is my grandfather, who was the most, my grandmother and my grandfather was a major impact on my life. He taught me a lot about obviously spirituality, but he also taught me a lot about, we used to just go, we would get in a car and we would deliver bread to people who were, less fortunate, or the poorer communities. We didn't have a lot of money either. Or he would take me out on a hike on Saturdays, and, he'd be like, grab your stick. And he was, talked about how he was a state champion boxer, but he was also a state champion marble player. He was like, not everything has to be super physical. Like him being a boxer was super physical, and like working out type. And him being a marble player, he said it was all mental and really, being still. I didn't even know there was such thing as marbles. You know what I'm saying? But I learned as a very young kid, I was like, wow, this is interesting. So there are the people that motivate and inspire me. But at the end of the day, it starts with me being honest with myself and going back to the person that I believe why I'm actually, here today and overcoming such a struggle at a young age.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I do want to say that your comment of it maybe being a weird answer, it's not. I don't really share this with many people, but in my house, I have a picture of myself as a 7-year-old boy, just outside of the bathroom that I come out of every day. And every day I look at that picture and I tell that 7-year-old boy, everything's going to be all right. You're going to turn out okay. So, hearing you say that really, it validates what I do every morning, talking to myself, talking to that little boy. That's powerful.
Yeah, that is powerful. And congratulations for just being open to being able to communicate with yourself like that. And I don't like to sound like, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that or this is the way to live. But I definitely believe that you have to open yourself up to scary things and emotional things so that you can really thrive past the things in your past.
Man, as much as I admire what you are able to do physically, it's your vulnerability and your openness that I'm on board with whatever you have to say, because there's just a connection that you have and with your audience, with me, with us. I guess thank you is the only thing I can say for this time and for what you do and for being a leader and showing how to be vulnerable and how to be open and how to share what's really going on. Because like we started out talking about, it's not something that's out there. It's not, especially not for men. It's not very available. So it really is powerful and really means a lot to have you doing what you're doing. So.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you for doing what you do, and keep on doing it. And maybe I'll come back on the show because I have a lot more to share.
Oh, we just got to page 1, buddy. We just got to page 1 of the list of questions, so we'll have you back. Thank you so much, Shaun. We really appreciate the time and everything you're doing, man. Yeah, I think I was right, Zach. Best episode yet. We're killing it with this one. This is good stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, though, it's not the best episode because of us.
That's true. We're lowering the bar.
It has nothing to do with us. It's all about the guest.
Considerably. Shaun T., our thanks to him for spending all of that time with us. Very generous with his time, very generous with his stories and everything that drives him. Great conversation. I hope that you got something out of it as well. And we look forward to trying to have him back on the show every week, if at all possible. Well, I don't think that's going to happen.
That would be ideal, but yeah. We'll push for every other week.
Every other week. We'll settle. So again, thank you to Shaun T. and all kinds of links on our website to the new program and to Shaun T.'s website and all of that. So again, thank you to him for being on the show.
I got to say, Jeremy, that was a pretty powerful conversation. And while I knew that getting the opportunity to talk to Shaun T. would be an amazing opportunity, I didn't quite realize like how personal and how close to home that was going to hit. Hearing, I'm not the only person who looks at thinks of myself as a child and looks to that kid for motivation. I mean, it's amazing. I think he's an incredible guy, and I'm so happy that we got to talk to him.
Well, even your story of that little boy, I know for me, when you told me that story about a year ago, I took that to heart, and in a accidentally pretty deep meditation, found some really profound healing in sort of addressing the child version of me that went through some trauma, and really I've in ways I could never have imagined healed from those moments just by sort of reliving them in a meditative state. It's powerful how many times you and I looked at each other in that conversation and went, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that hits deep. That, again. Like he's so dialed in to what people like us are going through right now. And, evidently going through himself. And so it's just, we're unbelievably fortunate to have had that conversation. And again, I just hope that for whoever's listening, that they also found those moments of of themselves reflected back and finding that there is a way through the struggle.
Yeah. And I think I just want to make sure anyone who is listening, you know, whenever I tell somebody about Shaun T or the Insanity workout or the Transform 20 workout, it's usually met with, you know, it's just a workout. And to all of those people who think it's just a workout, it's so much more than that. For me, it's been mentally transforming, and it's really helped me along my journey in taking care of myself and making myself, you know, better in small and little ways. And it's gotten me to the point where I'm at today. So it's not just a workout. I mean, it is definitely a workout, and it's hard, and there's those benefits. But I almost look at the physical benefits of these workouts as being secondary to the mental benefits that you get from his motivation and just digging deeper, like he says.
Yeah, it's funny. I've noticed for me, I'm not the kind of workouts I've been doing up until now do not deal with speed in the same way that his do. There's a lot of very quick movement in his. But I love, and I don't know if this is unique to this work. Again, I'm new to the Beachbody world, but this workout in particular, I know you can open up a modifier and show somebody doing it a little bit slower, a little bit, you know, altered, so that if you are new, it's really easy to find a way to keep up and finish and not take the break. Like he keeps saying, take a break, take a break, take a break. But if you're going at your own pace, if you're going the right way, you'll find that you won't need to, and then you'll feel really good when it's over. That's my experience. I'm on board. Whatever he has to sell at this point, I'm in, because it feels good inside and out to be doing these. And so I don't know. I just can't be more excited about something like this. This comes along at a perfect time for me, because I feel like, you know, and we'll get into this in the challenge again in a minute, but I just feel like I've sort of plateaued in a lot of ways. I'm not pushing myself in a lot of ways, and this comes up, and it's harder than anything I've done recently, but it's doable. And so I'm really excited to find a new tool to push myself to grow and to get out of my comfort zone.
But isn't that weird, though? I mean, really think about what you just said. You're excited about doing a workout. Mm-hmm. Most people dread it. I mean,
I want to get the show over so I can get down to the gym and do it.
Myself included. But you're excited about doing a workout, and I think that's a testament to his motivational techniques and the program that he put together. Because I'm the same way. I look forward to doing his workouts. I don't necessarily look forward to other workouts, but definitely his. Mm-hmm. It's something that I look forward to, and I don't dread it. In the moment, I get really pissed off at him.
Right.
But I definitely look forward to it. So I can't say enough good things about Shaun T and his workouts, and especially Transform 20. I'm only on week 2, but I mean, I actually didn't think that this would be as hard as it was. I'm more of an Insanity Max 30 guy, which is really fast paced. But this is kicking my butt for sure.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with it.
Yeah. Links to that on our website, thefitmess.com. We should mention quickly our sponsor, Bravest Brewing Company. You can use our promo code FITMESS10 to get 10% off your order through their website. There's a link, again, on our website, thefitmess.com. So thank you to them for being on board. By the way, Bravest Brewing Company, a non-alcoholic brewing company that makes fine craft beers, an amber, an IPA, and a stout, all of which keep staring at me in the refrigerator. And after I work out, I'm like, that seems like a good idea. I shouldn't do it, but I should. I just learned from Shaun that I gotta work on that stuff.
But you can
while I'm doing it, because otherwise I'll get to the end and I'll be out of control.
I do that all the time. I'll finish my workout and crack open a Bravest Brewing beer. I mean,
have it with a side of donuts. No big deal, right?
I don't quite take it that far, but you know what? I figure I just burned out all my glycogen stores and I need to replenish them.
That's an excellent point. I'm gonna take that advice to heart. So thank you to Bravest Brewing. Please buy their beer and help support our show and help support their brewery. With that in mind, and with that all said and done, it's time for the challenge.
Let the challenge begin.
So I think we need to take a look at some of the previous challenges that we've done, because the last 2 challenges were long. Mm-hmm. You couldn't just complete them in 2 weeks. Well, actually, one of them was. I mean, we had a goal to lose 5 pounds within 2 weeks, which was a pretty attainable goal. I hit it.
How's that feel? Is that good? You proud of yourself?
Yeah, you know, I had a donut afterwards, and I gained like 3 of them back. But I know the last time we talked, you were going to work on getting that 5 pounds off again.
Yeah, I've stayed exactly where I was. Haven't budged an ounce.
Well, then you're right where you need to be.
Evidently. I don't know what the deal is.
All right.
Yeah.
You're
so
going to keep trying?
You know, I think I mentioned then, and I think I'm going to hold myself to it now with daylight saving time coming up. I'm going to get back to the bike commuting.
Yep.
That while also doing Transform 20, I think is going to close a lot of the gap that I'm having a hard time with. And I had to make some adjustments on my Fitbit tracker. It turns out I'm not burning as many calories as I was when I was much heavier. So I've had to sort of readjust my goals. So I think with all of that sort of redialed in, I'll definitely get there. I'm not at my goal weight, but I'm also trying to not get hung up on that number because it's not about that number. It's about how I feel.
Yeah, it's not the number. And because you're picking up the exercise routines, it might not drop as quickly, right? I mean, if you're building muscle.
If anything, if that number stays and I can drop the body fat percentage, get the muscle percentage up, then I'm going to count it as a win.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's that deal. We had a challenge a couple weeks ago about finances. You challenged me to save $100 in the account. I don't know that I've specifically done that yet, but I was surprised. I guess it was sort of a happy coincidence. We talked a little bit about it on the show about the Amazon spending and using that as such a go-to for groceries.
Yep.
We sort of just stopped doing that as a way to sort of get finances under control, but also there's some political motivation behind not supporting Amazon quite as much in my household. And that alone, like actually physically going to the grocery store, saved us a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like hundreds. So I don't know that I met the goal and went, I'm going to take this $100 and make it work. But we made a change that closed the gap.
Nice. Good
so
for you.
So that's been a big win. I'm looking at the budget for March and it's alarming. And the windshield incident that I talked to Shaun about.
You're going to need that $100 to fix your windshield.
More than that $100. So, March is looking grim, but we'll see. Hopefully one of those surprise checks that I'm not expecting will come rolling in. Maybe I'll get my taxes done. That'll close the gap.
Maybe. You might be disappointed there too.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, it's time for a new challenge.
Yes.
And I think we're already in the midst of it, but just after talking with Shaun T and being, 2 weeks into Transform 20. Transform 20 is a 6-week program. I've done several of his workouts, and I've done them all through, the whole 60 days or however many days they are. I know I can do this, but I'm going to challenge you to do the entire Transform 20 workout for all 6 weeks.
I'm going to do my best to accept that challenge because I'm very excited about it right now. I don't know that I can commit to 6 days just because the weekends and kids and all that. But if I fall short a day, I'm going to pick up, day 6 on Monday or whatever. So I might have to have some fluctuation, but I will do every workout over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks or whatever it takes to get them all in.
So I always had, whenever I did a workout like this, where it was, you had a specific set of workouts that you had to do during the week. And if I missed one, I always felt like I failed like the whole program because I missed one workout and then that would set me off and I'd miss a whole week and I'd have to start over.
Right.
And it's really bizarre that like something as simple as that would set me off. And I've now learned to accept that, if I miss a day, I will just pick it up the next day where I left off or, and in the case of Transform 20, I mean, these workouts are 20 minutes.
Right.
I mean, seriously, just do 2 in one day.
Right. It's true.
If you've missed one.
Yeah.
So, don't get hung up if you miss one. Just keep going and get the program done. I mean, get the big win instead of thinking about the little failures that you have along the way.
It's a good lesson for life there.
Yeah,
Master,
I guess
Master Zach.
It applies elsewhere too, huh?
But I think we had a dual purpose challenge because the idea of me time, alone time that Shaun talked about, that's something that I struggle with constantly. As I mentioned before we started recording, I struggle constantly with being there for my family and taking time for myself and feeling really selfish if I take time for myself, whether it's 10 minutes or 10 hours, whatever it is. If I need that time, I need to take it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be the dad and the husband I want to be when I am present. So I'm challenging myself to follow his advice, because I've been saying to myself for months, get up an hour before everybody else.
Yeah.
Just do it. Get up and take that time, because I get frustrated that the minute I wake up, I'm accountable to feeding kids, feeding dogs, feeding the cat, packing lunch, like getting everything ready for everybody else the minute I wake up. And that doesn't stop when I get to work, when I've got to get everything ready for everybody else to do their job. And then I get home and I've got to get the kids ready to get to, like, there's never time for me to just take the time to breathe, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try the hour before everybody wakes up at least a couple times. I'm gonna commit to trying it a couple times to see how that works out for me, and if that's something I can sustain. Even
just try it once.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I struggle with when I want to do something different like this. I will say I need to do this every day for 3 months, and then it becomes this really large thing in my head. But if you just shoot for once, that's it. That's all you got to do.
We'll see what door that opens.
And then you can do it again.
Speaking of the challenges, we are going to start a challenge group through our Facebook page.
On our Facebook page, there's a link to the Fit Mess group that we're going to have, where we're going to encourage discussions around challenges and failures and successes and whatever anyone wants to air in there, and just really getting a dialogue with the community of the Fit Mess going.
Well, this is kind of inspired by some listeners have reached out, some friends have reached out and said, hey, I really like the challenge part of your show. I want to start doing X, Y, Z, and I need someone to help keep me accountable. And I feel like, that might be a lot to ask your friend, your partner, whoever. So maybe as a community, we can do that for each other and sort of challenge each other, ask for help with our own challenges, whatever it is, or just, sometimes you just need a place to vent. And if that's what that needs to be for you, then great. But we hope you'll take a look at it. It's on the Facebook page. It's just the Fit Mess group. You can join it there, and we'll try and build the community there and try to be there for each other in more ways than we've been able to in the first few months of this show.
Yep.
So with that, I think we are done. And yep, I was right. Best show yet.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Absolutely.
If only it weren't for those hosts dragging it into the mud.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for spreading the word. If you have enjoyed this show, please share it, rate, review it wherever you happen to be listening to it, and reach out to us anytime you like through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email us info@thefitmess.com. That's it for now. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a brand new episode, and we're trying to update the website daily with different news articles and content and things that you might find interesting. So take a look at that, thefitmess.com, and that's where you'll find the next episode in just a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
We know this podcast is amazing and does not seem to lack anything, but we still need a legal disclaimer. Jeremy and Zach are not doctors. Please consult your physician prior to implementing any changes that you heard on this podcast. The listener assumes that Jeremy and Zach do not know what they're talking about, and that you'll do your own research on the topics talked about in this podcast. The hosts of this podcast are not liable for any physical or emotional issues that might occur directly or indirectly as a result of listening to this podcast.